Well, welcome to our webinar for Supercharging your 2021 holiday e-commerce profits. As most of you should already know, we are now in the last quarter of the year. We're in that last sprint, and this is when a lot of us who are a lot of e-commerce companies are going to be, it's going to be make or break this quarter. So this whole presentation is about exactly what we have here, is how you can put some new strategies in place to get those profits going up. So with no further ado, let's get started. So first of all, as some of you saw on the screen that I was sharing, if you do have any questions, you can use the question and answer button down there to go ahead and, this is like Inception here. It's me pointing to me, pointing to me. But we will address those at the end. So if you have any questions as we go through a lot of these tips and tricks and strategies, just, add them in there and we will address those at the end. So with that, I want to introduce today's panel, which we're going to start with Bernard. Bernard, you want to give a hello to everyone so they know who they're talking to?
Hey everybody, excited to be here today. And we've got so much information we can't wait to share with everybody. So great to be on the panel. Thank you for inviting me, Matt.
For those who aren't in the know, Bernard is the president and CEO of National Positions. So if you do want to send him any direct emails, there's his email address, and we'll be sending this entire presentation out to everyone who's attending. You get to download and share with your teams, and the email will be there too. So you're welcome to shoot him any direct messages. Next, we have Haley Morgan, who's our CRO specialist. Good morning / afternoon, Haley.
Yeah, good morning. Hi, everybody. I'm Haley. I am the CRO specialist here with National Positions. I'm excited to share some tactics all about CRO with you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Haley. And I'm Matt Erickson. I'm the Director of Marketing here at National Positions. And with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. So one thing before we dive in, did want to let you know that in addition to today's webinar, for everyone who's attending, you'll be sent a PDF of the whole presentation. It'll be in nice glossy format. So again, you can review any of this at any time. So if you're trying to take notes, calm down. You don't have to panic or think you're going to miss something, because you'll get everything. And as we go through all these strategies today, there's actually going to be additional strategies that we're just not going to have time to get through. So you'll have additional information than what you're going to see today. And then we'll also have a recording of this. So if you're not aware, we are recording this. So you will be able to review this at any time you want. Again, share it with your team. And we have a number of jumpstart offers for anyone who wants to act on anything that they're seeing today. So we're offering a whole, profit analysis for the holidays of 2021, which could be an introductory conversion rate optimization analysis, e-commerce analysis, on down the line. And for any new clients, we do have a promotion where we're going to be offering a free month of management. But you can contact us about that later. With that, let's get on to the presentation. So the bulk of what we're going to talk about today is going to involve something called conversion rate optimization. So if you came here just going, great, where can I put more of my Google ad dollars? It's not exactly the way we're going to go. We're trying to focus on how you can convert more of what you're doing now. So before we unpack this, I want to give about 20 seconds, get that Q&A section ready, because I'm going to turn to Bernard in a second here. What do you think conversion rate optimization is? If anyone has any ideas, go to the Q&A. We're going to use that as a little polling thing right now. Just put in there, what do you, other than the actual saying CRO or conversion rate optimization, what do you think conversion rate optimization is? You have 20 seconds. Go. I'm going to check. And Bernard's going to be manning this, so he's going to see if anyone has any thoughts.
Well, don't see too many people in the chat, so maybe I'll go ahead and
okay, yeah, Bernard, what do you
okay, so
yeah.
The beauty of conversion optimization, and really our goal, is to take the same advertising budget as you have right now and to increase that by making sure that the performance of your website is better. So imagine the situation where advertising dollars are the same, but you're doubling, tripling, quadrupling your sales through the efforts that we're going to be talking about today. That's what conversion optimization means to me.
Awesome. And Haley, as the specialist, I know
Yeah.
we're going to unpack a lot. What are your initial thoughts on CRO?
Yeah, so CRO will let you convert more of your customers on the same amount of traffic. Obviously, that is like the biggest, most shiny thing that CRO does, but it does that by making your decisions easier through data. So it takes the guesswork out of which headlines you want to use, what variation you want to use, original versus variation 1, 2, 3. So it's data-driven decision making.
Yep, absolutely. And for me, what I really like about CRO, I mean, I love all areas of digital marketing. That's what I do. That's what I like to do. But I like that through digging down through this, you can really uncover what, for your site, what the friction points are for your clientele. What the bottlenecks are specific to what you're doing, and where that's happening, whether that's on the, right on that homepage or all the way down to the final conversion. So with that, we are going to
just quickly. Jill had something that she said, and we will be talking about later. She mentioned some of the tools that we use to conduct CRO optimization. So Jill, I don't know that we've met before, but that was pretty on the head, or pretty on the on the mark. So just wanted to mention.
So Jill nailed it. Okay, and we're gonna bypass this, get right into the meat. Okay, so first of all, we kind of broke this up into sections of questions that we are getting from our clients who were trying to show them what CRO is, and we realize at a high level we want to be very practical. So one of the first questions we get is, do you have any homepage suggestions when it comes to CRO? And we absolutely do. So we're going to jump right into the first one, which is going to be, might seem basic, but it's really not. So navigation and focus. So Haley, you want to take this one?
Yeah, there are a few main things that your homepage should accomplish. One of those being letting people know that they've landed in the right spot. The second thing that your homepage should do is provide clear navigation. So is it intuitive to use? Is it accessible for everybody? But one easy way of doing that is by arranging your homepage navigation in order from most interacted with, highest converting, to, on the opposite spectrum, least interacted with, lowest converting. So you can do that here, like in the main menu navigation, it's typically left to right. But another way of thinking about this is if you have other forms of navigation on your homepage website. So if you have maybe left-right copy that goes vertical and it has CTAs on either side, so pulling people in some sort of direction onto another step in the funnel, then the same principle would apply top to bottom. You're going to order that highest converting, lowest converting.
Got it. So it's really about that initial user experience right off the bat. So no confusion, and it's clear what they're supposed to do.
Correct.
Awesome. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. So let's hope that's clear to everybody. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is promo invites. Bernard, you know all about this.
Thank you. So one of the most exciting areas in conversion is to remarket to people, and having a pop-up that actually captures someone's email address and also their telephone number is really important. We have this as a free option for all of our clients. If anybody, speak to your client partner, and we'll be happy to provide you with some of these different types of pop-ups. Some interesting things for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, obviously we're coming up to that right now, is to offer someone, instead of just saying get 10% off if you sign up for our email list, is to actually provide some offers. Like, for instance, if you sign up now, you'll become part of our VIP list. Maybe you'll get a preview of some of the specials we have before Black Friday and Cyber Monday. The other idea as well is most users are on mobile devices. So check out when you have something popping up that's going to work really well with that user experience on mobile. And you can do a lot of cool things. I saw recently Recart, which we have no association with, but I was really impressed by what they did. They were integrating Facebook Messenger with the pop-up. So you'd, for instance, provide users with a free gift or mystery gift, and you can use that pop-up for that. They click through, they get to Messenger. You can immediately pick up their email address from Facebook, And then, of course, another area that's really important as well, capture their telephone number, because SMS is a really great way to convert people. People do read their SMSs. And then the last point I want to talk about when it comes to pop-ups as well is to A/B test. You don't think of pop-ups as just a one-off. You can constantly be testing which pop-up works better. Those are my points.
For sure. Haley, do you have something to add in there?
Yeah, just quickly. Yeah, and I would also add to make sure that your pop-ups are set to exit intent. There's nothing worse than a broken user experience. So anytime that you've kind of taken their attention elsewhere or it's interrupted the buying experience, to get users back on track is very difficult. So if your pop-up is set to exit intent, you will minimize the risk of breaking that buying experience.
For sure. And I think this is especially important, like with what Bernard was saying, the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, even if you had, if you said, I already have an exit intent pop-up, but it's a new season coming, it's a new mindset coming. So changing that up, even if they've been to your site before, they may know, oh, this is different, something's new, something's going on. And we've all been to that site where we go to leave and a pop-up comes up and it almost, there's so many fields, it almost surpasses the fold. So you want to make sure you just get what you need, like Bernard was saying, so you can remarket effectively. Awesome. Okay, let's move on to first impressions. Speaking of above the fold, we talk about above the fold all the time, but this is going to be a little bit different. So Haley, you want to take this?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, when we were talking about kind of the homepage and what the most important things that the homepage should accomplish are. So one of those things that I mentioned was that in about 3 seconds, your website needs to effectively communicate that the user has landed in the right spot. So you have about 3 seconds to capture their attention, let them know that they're in the right spot. So anything above the fold really needs to do that. So your logos, your banner images. I've worked with clients in the past who they do sell coffee, actually, not this particular website, but who sells coffee. And then one of their value propositions was that they gave, mail carriers, all like government employees, certain discounts. And their banner image was of mail carriers and other various government employees, which was super vague. People were bouncing. We couldn't figure out why the bounce rate was so high when people were landing on this particular page. I took a look at some of those forms of analysis, and sure enough, people were very confused. So making sure that your above the fold imagery is really conducive to letting people know that they're in the right spot is very, very, very important.
Gotcha. And I think that there's been such a drive, especially in the last decade, that people want to get this above the fold so bold sometimes that they're like to capture the attention so they don't leave, when it can capture attention, but in the wrong way. It can just confuse them.
Yeah, so things like scrolling banner images, anything that, like I said earlier, that's going to break the buying experience is not necessarily ideal. So scrolling banner images or things that people can play with that you think, oh, this will be so cool because it's an interactive element. Turns out, yeah, they get a lot of clicks, but they very rarely lead anywhere. They're not going, it's not ushering people further down the funnel. Your users are just playing with those interactive elements. So to be very particular with what you pick to be above the fold on your website.
For sure. It's even that little micro conversion. It's like taking it from passive awareness into actual attention. And you don't want to break it with doing too much above the fold. So definitely an important thing to test. Thank you, Haley. All right, let's move on to mobile. Like I said, we're going to be talking a lot about mobile today, and Bernard is all about the mobile. Let's take it away, Bernard.
I think one of the biggest messages to take away from this webinar today is that mobile is mobile is first, mobile is most important. But one of the big things is that are some of the statistics that we have on this page. 55% of all page views are mobile, nearly 50% of all traffic, search traffic. In fact, in some cases, it's up to 70%. I was looking at a pillow company and their Google Analytics yesterday, and almost 70% of their traffic's on mobile right now. And then the last statistic, there was 45% of all e-commerce purchases last year happened on a mobile device. Now we're expecting that over 50% of all purchases are going to be on mobile. So what does that mean from a user experience perspective? You need to start with your mobile phone. You need to actually really look at that buying experience on your mobile versus desktop. And I know a lot of us are at work and we're looking at desktop all the time. That's not the reality of what's going to happen when it comes to the purchases. So make sure that that user experience is just absolutely phenomenal. And then also, as you go through that mobile experience, try and figure out where the actual friction points are. And a couple of suggestions as well, like on checkout, why make someone a mobile put in their address? You can just have them, the entire address, should I say. You can have them put in their zip code and it's going to pull in the state, and it's also going to, for instance, you can have people sign in through multiple different ways, like for instance, with their Facebook account or with their Google account, which I know we're going to hit later on. And then that will just push everything into the easy checkout buying experience. So there's a lot you can do on mobile, and that is really going to be core to making sales this Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
For sure. And I think there's some interesting stats on this, because everyone has probably Googled, where are they buying more, mobile or desktop or whatever. And there's a big difference between intent and then what the actual reality is. And I think I was looking at a Facebook Insights report. They offered this really great tool. Google it, you'll find it. It was an interactive report where this is from last year. It was saying that something like, it was over 50%. It said intend to buy in store, but then actual purchasing was it was completely the inverse. So it was like 65% intended to buy in store, but actually only 29% did buy in store. So there's always that, if they are going to retail, they're still using that mobile device to checking prices. Can I buy it somewhere else for less? So yeah, you cannot neglect that at all. Thank you, Bernard. All right, let's move on to personalizing the experience. And everyone's heard about programmatic, programmatic emails and programmatic advertising and targeting. And we're not talking about putting a name in an email or something like that, but specifically for experience on your website. So Bernard, you want to take this?
Yeah, I love this one as well. I think, we're in 2021, almost in 2022. We need to get to the point where we're actually identifying returning visitors and have a different user experience when we have new or returning visitors, and the way that we actually interact with them. And this is done fairly easily. Many times, if you've got a marketing automation platform, you can actually have that identify the IP address and the person that's returning to the website, and then give them a different message, provide them with different information. You're going to see a lot better conversion just by doing that.
For sure. Haley, do you have something to do on the?
Yeah, and actually the testing platform that I prefer and that we use here allows you to set up personalized pages with UTM tags. So in the past, I've done this when influencers, we work with certain influencers. So we create a variation of that page for the influencer to send traffic to. And we'll put, like certain elements on that page that are different than maybe our average homepage would look like. And so then we'll set that up as a personalized page for that bout of traffic.
For sure. And I think that that's going deep into personalization right there for sure. And I think, this actual example that's on the screen right now, this is the kind of phone that I use. Not that one. I use a few models ago. I'm cheap, but this was the first visit I did on the top, which I didn't take any action. I left. And when I came back, the bottom one is what I had. So now going to kind of what Bernard was saying, that button, there's that enter now, it's for a contest, but now they would have my email or my phone number and could remarket to me and try to get me back on track. So yeah, everyone's in a different stage of their purchasing journey. So you want to attend to that. Awesome. Thank you, Bernard. And thank you, Haley. Next, calls to action. We all know about this, but we're not going to talk about change your font or change your color or something like that. We're going to go a bit deeper. So Haley, you want to take it?
I apologize. The fire alarm in my building is going off at the moment. So if you do hear that, I will try to speak louder than it, but
no problem. That's totally okay.
If you don't mind.
No, go
Yeah.
ahead. We'll take
Yeah,
it.
so maybe I'll take this one while Haley's
Sure.
dealing with her fire alarm. Of course, Murphy's Law is that you want to reduce the friction points. You want to go in and you want to understand where people are in their particular journey on the website. So, for instance, everyone wants to have someone buy now, but that might not be the best call to action at that particular moment. You have to be very careful about why and how you put these call to action buttons together. So you can do things like learn more or find out more. It might be more appropriate at a particular point. Also, just having, enter, of course, that goes back to, maybe 10 years ago when people have buttons like that. You want to have emotional text associated with it, get your free gift or those types of terms. So it's very, very important to think about how how you put your calls to action text together. The other point is to often repeat the call to action over and over. I've seen this so many times to improve overall conversion.
Is stay consistent with what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, people don't see these calls to action. So, if you add the same, almost the same call to action 3 times on a page, maybe someone wasn't ready to click on that particular button. But as you go further down in the page and you deeper and deeper, maybe now they're ready to click. And it's very interesting when you put event tracking on a particular button and you look at it and you see where in that scroll people started clicking on a button.
Yeah, I think the fire alarm's off now, guys.
Hey.
I think anytime you have an important element, CTAs are obviously very important. You should consider, like, if you look at your heat map and you see like this is kind of where the most interaction happens, put a CTA there. Also, in the past, I've seen that there's elements on the page that get clicked that are not able to be interacted with. So we add a CTA. We add something that clicks. So consistency is important. Anytime, like I said, that you have, which Bernard, you mentioned, the consistency, anytime that you have those important elements, adding them multiple times in multiple places, a lot of times people think, well, isn't that overkill? And the answer is no. You would be surprised. Just, for example, another thing that's not necessarily a CTA, a size chart, if you sell clothing. That's one of those things that you can put it in product images, you can put it under your ATC, you can put it in a tab called size guide. It doesn't really matter how many times you put it there because, most of the times when I've tested adding it again and adding it again, it always wins. In fact, I've never seen something like that lose. So putting these things multiple times is very beneficial.
For sure. And I know earlier in the week we were talking about this, but with a client, but it also depends on, I think it would depend on not just the price tag of your item, but also what you're asking for when you're asking for it. So, if you do have something like, let's say I was looking at that phone, anyone who's going to be looking at a mobile or something that's going to be more than $100 or 200, depending on where you are. But if I'm looking at an $800 phone, I'm not going to probably just see it and go, oh yeah, add it to cart. Like I may want to learn more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I always tell people, I often get asked, like, can I run this pricing test? And I always say you're more than welcome to. I wouldn't mind setting that up for you, but I can guarantee, and I would put money down that your lower price item is going to win. So I always tell people your pricing is not your issue. It's really your power of persuasion. So persuasion is an element in the CRO process that we tend to look at last because, you need to have your functional elements working. You're not going to make a conversion if your buttons aren't working. It's something that we tend to look at last. However, it's really what pushes what's the word I'm looking for? It really pushes you that extra mile in terms of conversion. So totally matters a lot.
Awesome. Cool. So it's not all about the color. What we're trying to get across. Awesome. Thank you, Haley. And thank you, Bernard. All right, next, another question we get is how do you improve? So we've talked a bit of, we have several things. You could apply a lot of this, what we talked about the homepage to other pages, of course, but that is a lot of the UX side. That's a lot of the, the visual aesthetics side. So now we're kind of getting a little more into the psychological side. So how would you improve messaging and reduce friction with CRO? Those marketing, we love that word. How do we get rid of friction? So let's go into a few examples of this, and let's start with Haley. You want to take this?
Yeah, so quickly, friction is anything that interrupts your buying experience for the user. So when we're talking about pinpointing messaging, you kind of heard me say a little bit ago that persuasion is that thing that pushes your conversion rate that extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
So something that I often tell people is to try to have a conversation with your user. If you have the ability to sit down and maybe over Zoom, have a conversation, just ask them some questions, have them ask you questions and record it and see how it is that you talk to your user. If that's not something that you have the luxury of doing for whatever reason, you can do it with a family member, a friend. If that's out of the question, then you can always or I wouldn't even say if it's out of the question, I would do what I'm about to say in tandem with these things. So you can always look at those VOC sources, so your voice of customer resources. So any email that you have, anytime you're getting phone conversations, your customer service reps, if you have any polls or surveys running on your site, your social media, you can take a look at that and find those things that people are saying and how you would talk to your customer about your product and your service, and use those things on your website. Don't try to create what I call flowery language, things that sound really pretty but don't really give you much information. Anytime that you can kind of allow your customer to peek behind the curtain, what I call it, about your product or your service and learn more, actually learn more, that's a really good thing. So some examples are, I remember when Apple released a speaker, and it was just a commercial with somebody dancing with the speaker. Now, Apple has the luxury of doing that because they've created this conglomerate. There's this massive business that people they drop a product and people buy it. But not everybody has that luxury. So if you want to say, if you're a smaller business and you're selling speakers, you might talk about all the features and benefits of this product, right? And that's what's going to be what copy you're going to use and the messaging that you're going to deliver.
Yeah, so you're really speaking, I don't want to say speaking at your audience, but you are directly speaking to it, because
to and with, yeah.
To and with, exactly. Because if you have something like these brands here, it's not just the imagery on the top image here but Noble is a brand for people who train hard and don't believe in excuses.
Yeah.
DoorDash couldn't get away with that. Food delivery for people who train hard, it just wouldn't work. So, and sometimes we've had clients, and Bernard, I know we've had this over the years, where we'll ask a client well, not just who's your target market, but how do you speak, who is this for? And they're like, everyone who has a dog. I'm like, okay, that's a little too broad. So it may be a little more direct as to, so if it could be for example, Bernard and Haley are both in the Los Angeles area, and I'm in Tennessee. So there's going to be a very different need for the times of year and what they're going to need. So being able to speak directly to those clients. Yeah,
and knowing your customer support persona, forgive me, is really important in the messaging that you deliver. So, age, where they're at, maybe some of their interests, where are they spending their money outside of your company? That's important to know. So things like that really help you figure out who it is you're speaking with.
Gotcha. And I kind of want to pull us in for just 1 second. So being that this could be on a homepage, if someone was going to be, you talked about going into customer service surveys and those kinds of things. I know it depends on the kind of traffic they get, but how rapidly would a company feel comfortable swapping this kind of messaging out? Just the big, bold homepage kind of messaging.
Yeah, so I'm not necessarily sure I understand the question, but what I would say to it is that I wouldn't just swap, I would always A/B test. So that way, like I said earlier, a good CRO process takes the guesswork out of what it is that you're doing. So it's not just that, one day I was like, I really feel like swapping out the homepage messaging. Let's just change it. That's obviously that induces a lot of anxiety and a bit rightfully so in a business owner. But if you say, well, I took a look at these forms of data analysis, I took a look at, what it is that my customers are saying. I found that it's, they're confused by the messaging. Here's a message that I think could solve that just based off of, those things that I mentioned earlier. Let's run it as a test and just see what happens. And then should it win, you'll implement. Should it lose, which occasionally does happen, it's the bitter truth of a good CRO strategy, you'll iterate from there. So, all right, well, that didn't solve the problem. What will now? Let's create another hypothesis.
Got it. Always be testing. Always be testing.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Let's go, because I am holding this back a little bit. So crushing fear and reducing friction. Bernard, you want to take it?
Yeah. So your web pages should be their own salespeople. They have to go through you. And the way you should think about this is if you actually, and one of the tips I have is go speak to your sales team and find out if they were selling this particular product, how would they actually approach it? What kind of objections would people have? And try and answer those throughout your content. Same thing with customer service. Go to customer service team, ask them what kind of questions are people getting every day, and make sure that you're covering that as well. And then, I wanted to just mention maybe on the prior slide and this one as well, is you want to know who your audience is, which is what Haley was talking about in regard to personas, but you also want to be inclusive as well. Make sure that the images are of people that would use this particular product, and that you've got different types of individuals, and that you're, that people can find that the content is relatable.
For sure. And I think that this is, depending on the level of sophistication of your product. And if you're going to have something that needs, you actually have to, there may be 10% of the people I know who know what red light therapy is, but there may be a lot of people who don't understand it, don't understand the benefits of it. So, the more education, your product is going to need, probably the more robust your FAQ section is going to be. And Haley, you had a really nice little hack you were talking about the other day about from Amazon reviews. What was that?
Yeah. So the most ideal way of doing this would be if you had your own customer support channels and people were leaving enough feedback for you. That's not always the case, and everybody has the luxury of that. So what I always recommend to people is go to your top competitors' Amazon listing and just take a look at what people are saying there. How are people talking about the product? What do they like about it? What do they dislike about it? And use those things in your own messaging. So, if you go through your competitor's page and you read 200 reviews, that's usually about a good amount to make judgments on. About 200. You can keep reading if you feel so inclined, but and just kind of tally, all right, this is what people really liked about it, this is what people really disliked about it, these were questions people had about it, and incorporate those on your own website.
Nice. We love those little hacks where just didn't think about it, but it's so obvious. Thank you. They appreciate it, Haley, and thank you, Bernard. All right, let's move on to making it easier, making choices simpler. Haley, you want to take it?
Yeah, so we kind of touched on this a little bit when Bernard talked about the pop-ups and just removing those sections that were unnecessary. So a lot of people like to add things to their page. When I start working with people, they first, they bombard me with their huge list of things that they'd like to have done to the website. And usually it's a whole lot of things that they'd like to add. Most of the wins I've seen over time have come from removing things, making them simpler and more easy to use and more intuitive to work with and understand. So anytime, you have a ton of choices, it kind of invokes this principle of like the paradox of choice. So if there's too many choices, let's say you have 3 core colors on your pair of shoes that you sell that are constantly selling, red, blue, and green, and you have 30 other options listed, I would remove those other 30 options, even if they're, making a few sales, right? Because a lot of times what ends up happening is that if you have that many choices and people become overwhelmed, they just choose nothing and they leave. So in order to avoid that, we like to make choices much more simple.
Awesome. And I think this too goes into, we see this on apps a lot, but we're seeing sites starting to integrate some of these things where, it could be, let's say it is a shoe company, where if it's like shoes and it comes up, they could even almost have old school terminology, wizard basically, where you click and it walks you, what are you going to be using these for? Running, this, and you can actually walk through it and then it'll give them what they want. So like Haley, like you were saying, there aren't 50 running shoes, but it can kind of help pare down the choices for them.
Yeah. And just slightly off topic, those wizards are phenomenal for conversion. They're really great.
Hey, I added something. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Haley. Let's move on to another question we get. Are there any, because we've talked about, we're kind of going down the funnel now. As you can see, we had homepage, we talked about messaging. Now we're going to get into some meat of the meat and potatoes, which is, are there any conversion rate optimization suggestions for product descriptions or product detail pages? And of course there are. That's what we do. So let's jump into this. We'll start with Haley, which I love this one, but go ahead, Haley.
Yeah, so as it says here, we buy with our eyes first. So something I always recommend to people is to have high quality images. A lot of times people get scared because higher resolutions usually lead to a slower site speed. So something you can, easily do is just run your image through tiny PNG, which helps a lot. But as it says here, you can start with batching products by type and lay out your products in a simple to navigate like tile format. This tile format is pretty much prototypical at this point. It's what all the big guys are doing, and it's what all the big guys are training the customer to do. So it makes sense that the little guys follow suit. So, you've got Apple doing it, Amazon doing it, Walmart, all the new platforms are doing it. So this tile format is, like I said, prototypical. Very visually easy to digest. And I'd like to point out, like I said, all these images are very high quality. There's nothing pixely going on or anything of that nature. So it reduces friction caused by extraneous clicks, backclicks, and swipes. So very easy way of just setting up, especially category pages. This is pretty standard for category pages.
Awesome, which actually, I shouldn't say dovetails, it goes back to what you were just saying a moment ago, which is, if you're just showing them exactly, for example, like this middle one, this is from dbrand. They do skins for phones, and they have everything under the sun, but they definitely have things. What kind of phone do you have? And it's like, they don't even show you any options. So you click Apple, Samsung, whatever. Then they just show you what you need. So awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's move on to letting them see it in action. We've talked about video for a while, but Haley, you want to take this again?
Yeah. So this is actually from Macy's, and I think that there's other ones like Nordstrom that do this too. And in fact, it is Nordstrom because I have bought little things. I'm sure we have all bought things that we liked that we've seen because we liked, the way it looked in action. For me, it was a dress. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe the way the skirt looks. It's so pretty. I'm going to buy it. And turns out the average consumer feels the same way. When they see things in action, they like to buy it. I worked with one particular client that was selling in the pet niche. So we were showing how easy it was to slip on, this contraption onto your dog in a GIF format, not actually a video format. So it would kind of just autoplay as the person would scroll through the images. And that led to a huge conversion boost, overall conversion rate, but also on the micro conversion on that particular page. So very important to show your products in action. And that we actually tested that because we were getting a lot of customer feedback saying, how easy is this to get on my dog? Are they going to start wrestling around? Are they going to start wiggling around? Is it going to be super difficult to, get on? Is it going to be maybe easy for the dog to slip out of even? Yeah. So showing it in action really reduced that FUD, so that fear that they had. Yep.
You said FUD? What is FUD?
Yeah, so FUD just is an acronym that stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So it was a fear that they had, and I just, quelled it. Nice.
Bernard?
Yeah, I just want to say that you want to get as close to the experience you would in a store, in this case with Macy's. You can't really feel that jacket, but you can see it from all the different sides. You can see the different colors. So once you click on it, all the different colors, you want to experience that. I like the lifestyle. Lifestyle is really important. I was just speaking before this meeting with a company that does fishing rods, for instance. So you want to actually build up that enticing feeling of like actually seeing the fishing rod, someone actually catching the fish and being out on the boat and all these other aspirational real life situations of using your product. And of course, there's nothing like video.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like Haley, kind of what you were saying, like if there may be someone who's really close, like, I really like this, but just one piece of video showing them how something lays, like how this coat would lay, or how it works with slacks or works with jeans or whatever it's going to be. And Bernard, to your point, because I'm in Tennessee, so there are lots of Fisher people here. I didn't know those things can break. So you do want to show, if something like that is, and it's a $400 rod or something, that it's durable and it shows it in action, can just push people over the edge.
Yeah.
All right, we are coming up to the end of our trends here. Bernard, this is one of our favorites. It's one of the reasons that we're here today. So Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Whole lot of tips about Black Friday. The first one is, look at the big sales that you made in 2020, so last year's sales, and segment them. You could add that to your menu. You can add it like this, actually, the ones where you got computer accessories and fashion items, etc. You know, breaking out the items into certain categories allows people to quickly navigate to what's important. Having your best sellers, having your favorites, that's number one tip. Number two, breaking out, segmenting all your products. But the other one is make it easy for people to buy. So you've seen this on Amazon, and you probably, some of the best sites are doing this right now. Break out the categories. Like, for instance, if your product is for different age groups, and say, you know, this product is for babies, this one is for toddlers, this one is for teenagers, whatever. And it's an easy, quick way to break in there and find exactly what you're looking for. The other one, and you've probably seen this as well, is by price. You know, gifts under $20, gifts $20 to $50, et cetera, et cetera. And that allows people to quickly shop and find what they're looking for. The whole idea is to make the navigation as quick and easy and as seamless as possible for that user, so they can get to what they want and they can buy as quickly as possible. A couple of other things that you see on the screen here is creating that sense of urgency. So we've got some countdowns, maybe a little cheesy, but they absolutely work. The other one is showing, if you are going to be giving a discount like that 50% off, tell everybody about it, because that creates excitement as well. And those are you know, a couple of tips that I've seen that really, really work, and are enduring kind of holiday tricks that people use. I don't know if Haley's got anything else there as well.
No, I think that was pretty. I thought that I did, but no, I don't think that I do.
And this is one too I've seen, and I because we do like to take best practices, i.e. what's working for other people. There's a reason on Amazon Prime's, you know, on their Prime days, it's not just, ooh, these deals unlock at this time, but you'll see something even if you don't need it, and below it there's a clock ticking down, like it's only available for 24 hours, and you're like, oh, I got to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
There are two sides that you're appealing to psychologically. There's people's greed, and there's scarcity, okay? The fear of missing out. So if you also have that limited time offer, and I know those also sound cheesy, but they work out as well, is this is only going to be available for a certain time. Or you also see when you have products and there are only 5 left in stock, that's why Amazon does it, only 5 left, or there's 1 seat left on that particular plane, you know, you're off there typing as quickly as possible. I got to get that last seat. So you know, those types of psychological impacts definitely always work. And crossing out pricing, showing people that 50% off, those are all areas that get people to buy.
Yeah, quickly, I just thought of something. So when we talk about FOMO, urgency, and other things like that, those are really important, scarcity as well. But anytime that you can offer your customer like a reasoning, so for example, in the plane, there's, you know, we can only offer this, we can only hold it for you for 10 minutes to complete your checkout because there's 1 seat left, and we want to make it fair for everybody. I think Ticketmaster does that too, where they say, we'll hold it for 15 minutes because we want to make it fair for everybody to get an opportunity to buy. Anytime you can offer that like reasoning, that tends to lead to an increase in conversions for that particular, whatever it is that you're running, you know, whatever kind of sale or anything like that. So, you know, like I said, with Ticketmaster, they're saying, well, we want to make it fair for everybody. So you only can hold this on or in your cart for 15 minutes. So if you're saying like, oh, we're offering you this for the next 24 hours, and it's because in this case, maybe Black Friday, Cyber Monday, make sure to articulate that, not just like 30% off. Black Friday only, make sure that they know like this countdown timer is ticking. We have 24 left in stock because we've sold out of inventory in the last however many hours. Just be very clear of that. That saying that I always toss around is clarity trumps persuasion. So just be clear, be upfront, maybe a little more honest in your practice. I've worked with individuals who like to fluff the truth a little bit. So if it is if you can be a little more truthful about the reasoning for your scarcity and urgency, I always recommend that. But that is what I would say. Yeah.
Awesome. A lot of good ideas there. Okay, everyone, implement all those tomorrow, all of them. All right, let's move on. So any CRO, okay, again, going down the line, hopefully they've got it on the homepage, they've gone to your products, they liked what you have. Maybe they've even added it to cart. Well, are there any CRO ideas to help improve the checkout process? And there's always things that we can optimize. So let's dive into one of our last tips. Bernard, you kind of touched on this earlier.
Yeah, I kind of did. I mean, you want to make that checkout, especially everyone's going to be on mobile, not everybody, but a vast majority of people are going to be on mobile. You want to make it as simple as possible. So, let them check out with all of the different areas where they've already have a sign up like Google, Facebook, et cetera, et cetera. So highly recommend you implement that. Super easy to do too.
And I think too, we didn't have this on this one. There just wasn't, we didn't have enough slides to put this in here, but there's also, if you haven't implemented it, even so, because I've seen this where I'm on a site and I have to enter my credit card information again, and it's pay with Apple Pay, pay with Google Pay, pay with Amazon Pay. And if you have those options where it just takes out another step, that's gold, because you can just, again, it's one less click. And if I'm on this thing, that's just going to make me more opt to just, oh, it's so much easier to just buy. So awesome. Let's move on to Haley. You want to take this one?
Yeah, so I said earlier that clarity trumps persuasion. And this same kind of principle applies here as well. So anytime you can be upfront with your customer about the process that they're going to undertake here, that's very valuable, very important to do. So the most obvious place that this kind of happens for most product-based e-commerce brands is on the checkout process. A lot of times you'll go through the process, you'll say like, oh, this is my first name, this is my last name, and here's my contact number. And then you click the CTA, and lo and behold, you didn't just complete your purchase, you have a whole nother page to fill out. Maybe it's your shipping information. So anytime you can implement those progress bars or breadcrumbs, they're sometimes referred to, that is very important. So you can also do this, like, for example, if you're a service-based company and you offer like a demo of your product, you can do, like on your sign up form, you might have number 1, fill out this form. Number 2, you get a demo of the product. Number 3, whatever it is that your objective is. So maybe it's you'll start making sales. Maybe it's that you'll start, collecting leads, or whatever it is that your product is offering. So it'll be number 1, number 2, and number 3. And that's very important. People really respond well to it. We could theorize, to the moon and back why they respond to it. I don't know, but they just do. So anytime that you can be clear with your customer, that tends to work very well.
For sure. Awesome. Okay, let's move on to our last one. And Haley, you've been knocking this out of the park. So again, you're a CRO specialist. So shopping carts, we know them, we love them, we hate them sometimes. But what should everyone be doing?
Yeah, so as far as the cart is concerned, most Shopify sites will have this kind of native where your items, like should you add something to the cart, you exit the window and then you come back, your items will still be in the cart, provided that you don't clear your cookies or cache or anything else. So, however, it's not always the case that I add stuff to my cart, I exit and come back and the contents are still there. So that's very important. Always have the cart contents cookie enabled, so that way they are not forgotten should somebody decide that they're going to leave, or should life happen. Life happens. Maybe they're trying to complete their checkout, their dog goes nuts and they have to take care of that, or the
fire alarm goes off.
The fire alarm goes off and they have to tend to that. So life happens. So you want to make sure that the processes are in place that should they come back to the site, or should they be retargeted through Facebook and come back to your site, however they get there, that they didn't forget their cart contents.
Gotcha. And do you find that that'll track through mobile also? Like if they're on their desktop and then
Oh,
they
yeah.
go somewhere else, yeah, you'll still see it, if you're on this.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, correct.
awesome. Okay, and that's it for the tips. We're gonna, quickly let you know. Actually, sorry, we have a bonus.
Mm.
Bernard, we can't let this one go. I know
So,
we're gonna speed up, but
So a lot of our clients complain to us that, Cyber Monday and Black Friday, they're really giving away a lot of products. So there's very little margin in the products. And I say what you should do is be strategic about the way that you take advantage of all these new clients that you get. So this is kind of a post CRO, post Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Get those people, encourage those people to join your social media. So build up that community. You want to get them as part of your Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, wherever you are on social media. Give some things away. Maybe you're giving an extra incentive. For instance, say you're selling shoes, like you saw in that previous example. You're giving away maybe a cleaning kit, or you may be giving away shoelaces, whatever it is. Give those away on maybe some kind of incentive. Maybe it's to get referrals to others that might be interested in the product. During Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you're going to run out of stock. Instead of saying out of stock, put out an alert there, or an opportunity there for someone to sign in and say, tell me when you're back in stock. And then just the normal things, getting marketing automation in place. Those birthday promos are good. People want to feel important. Make sure you put people into a VIP mailing list where they can learn about things first. Bundle things up. Like for instance, we've seen where if you buy one, it's say 20% off. If you buy two, you're going to get 25% off. If you buy three, you're going to get up to, 30% off. Those kinds of things really work well as well. And then, as I mentioned before, people want to feel special. They want to get like in on things that aren't really available everywhere else. So that's where your email list comes in. That's where your marketing automation is especially good. And those VIP access deals get people excited.
for sure.
Yeah,
And oh, sorry, Haley.
Sorry,
No,
quickly. I've worked with clients in the past who it's the unfortunate circumstance even where, Facebook shuts them down. It just happens. Nobody knows why Facebook is the way that it is. And they have, while, working to get their Facebook back up and running, just through those means of communication with their clients, SMS, email, pretty much those two, have not lost any revenue. It takes a week. And that was the fastest I've ever seen it done, but it takes a week to get their Facebook back up and running. And that was, their primary source of traffic, and they don't lose any monetary earnings just from keeping in contact with their user through SMS and through email. So it's also another, yeah,
always have multiple streams to not let anyone go, and also just make sure that there's so much new client, new purchases, new stuff. Well, people bought from you before, might want to buy from you again. So why not leverage that? Okay, well, we are running short on time, and we do have a section in here. It'll be included for you about a company that we're also working with called CartText. They do SMS, live chat, SMS text messaging for abandoned carts, where they can offer things that are personalized, but we'll have info in about that, but we have some questions, so we do want to get to those. So let's jump into that. Bernard, you have anything on your end?
I guess we got a question here about opportunities to sell loyalty programs once you get a client. Is that something, Haley, that you can speak to?
I see a question about the upsells, or this one was before that one, so I'm just going to answer this one really quickly. The upsells or add-ons in the checkout. So if you're on Shopify, the only way that you could do this is if you're a Shopify Plus partner, and I don't always recommend it unless it makes sense for you to do that. And adding upsells or add-on sells or cross-sells, anything like that, anything of that nature in the checkout can be very tricky. It can be very beneficial once you find the right way to do it on your website. Again, not everything is, blanket statement. This is one of those things that can be very tricky because you're at a very sensitive area in the buying process. It's the very last step. The last thing you want to do to somebody is to confuse them or distract them. So typically I caution against it unless you have a really good testing strategy implemented and you can know for sure whether or not that this is going to be beneficial to your company or to your bottom line. In the past with like clothing brands, something that we tried was, all right, let's put clothing in there. That makes sense, right? Let's put a bestseller. But that becomes very difficult because people need to go back to the web or that product listing, look at the specs, see if it's going to fit them. It's not just as simple as adding to the cart, to the checkout. So we went with jewelry pieces that were more simple, like maybe a nice pair of studs or a bracelet, not necessarily a chain, because women were very interested in knowing the length of the chain. So there's so many caveats to it. I can't say yes or no, but I do caution against it because there are so many caveats.
Well,
but
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, that was it.
That's
all I had.
With that, because I know we do have a couple more questions. We're going to go a couple minutes over. We'll be fine. But if you're going to do that, let's just say, and it depends on where in the process you're doing it. I've been to sites where I've said, oh, what about that? And on the right-hand side, it goes, this is in your cart. You want to add this? I'm like, I just started looking. Like, I'm trying to be sold extra stuff. And so you want to be careful when you do that. And also, if you do have something where, let's say it's a pair of shoes, and let's take Bernard's shoelace, example from earlier. Maybe if you have $100 pair of shoes saying you want to add this $5 pair of extra shoelaces, that's fine. But if you said you want to add this $50 XYZ, like you don't want to have your add-on being probably over a certain percentage of what they're already buying, because that can just make no, that's not gonna fly.
I want you to add just a suggestion, and Haley, I totally agree with you on the checkout process. Keep people focused. You don't want to have any way that people can click away from the checkout. You want them in there, and you want them not to abandon cart. One trick is when people have actually purchased and you get them on the thank you page, you have an opportunity to sell people. There's no greater time for people to get excited about your products than when they actually have engaged and they've taken out their credit card and they've bought something. So one trick that people have is, hey, I bought a pair of pants. Well, they purchase it. Did you think about the belt? Did you think about the socks? Did you think about the shoes that go with that or whatever, as an example? And that's just a great way of getting upsells and cross sells. Yeah,
there's so many good apps too, especially if you're on Shopify. I've formed a book of, I spend my time, so you keep hearing me say it, that's why. OCU is a great app for doing that. So definitely.
Awesome. Bernard, do we have any other questions on there?
No, I think we're all done.
Okay. Well, if you do have any other additional questions, again, everyone, you are welcome you'll get this let's go past this. We don't have time for this. Sorry. There is our direct contact information. But again, you will get this whole PDF. So if you do have any questions for Haley about CRO or, for myself about the Jumpstart program or anything like that, you'll have all that info. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for Supercharging your 2021 e-commerce profitability for the holidays. And we look forward to speaking with you when we do. So have a wonderful day. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so